Hey guys, welcome back. Frustratingly, I've come down with COVID and feeling a little bit under the weather. I thought, you know what, I'm going to do my makeup to cheer myself up. So this is a good one just to lift your spirits. It's a nice, quick and easy look that really does revitalise you on the outside, even if you're not feeling so revitalised on the inside. This is good if you are a beginner of makeup, if you are new to makeup, because everything's really simple and easy to replicate. So I'm just going to put my hair out of my face. Then I'm going to take a kabuki brush and some of the bareMinerals bronzer and apply that down my neck. My face and neck are always covered in high SPF, and I also wear a hat in the sun, so my face never matches my body. I do wear a high SPF on my body as well, but it just catches the sun very easily. So this is just going to match my neck to my body. I'm then going to take some of the NORVINA lip balm and I'm going to start decanting everything, and I'm going to show you how I sanitize everything as I go, because this is all my personal makeup but I want to keep it virus free. So I'm going to show you the products I use. This is not sponsored, by the way, this is just products I actually use and have to hand. I have the entire range by Beauty Hygiene Plus. One of them is a quick dry brush cleaning spray. Then we have a deep sponge and brush wash. We also have a quick dry makeup sanitizing mist for your palettes and for your makeup. And then we also have one for your beauty tools. So I'm using those on my brushes and my makeup palettes as I go. You might not see me using them all the time, but this is a great way to keep everything sanitized and cleaned. It's the way I work when I go on a professional job. And once again, this is not sponsored in any sense of the word. It may look like an advertisement, but it really is not. I'm just sharing it with you. So I've just applied some of the Eldridge highlighter on my cheekbones, and now I'm hydrating because I am struggling. It's like having a nasty cold. Moving on. I'm taking the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. This one is the Mattifying Primer, and this is going on the centre of the face. As you know, I'm combination oily. I tend to get quite shiny through the T-zone, so this is going on as a base to prevent the oil coming through. It works like a barrier between your oil and your foundation, so you get a smoother finish if you have texture, but also keeps your oil at bay. For foundation, I'm using a mix of the Clinique Even Better foundation and the Makeup Forever New HD Skin. The reason I'm adding in the Makeup Forever one is because I love the Clinique one, but it's not dark enough to match my body. Even though this won't be a perfect match, it's definitely going to take my face a few shades darker. Even though it won't be the perfect match, it would definitely resemble my body a lot more. I've used 1 drop of the Clinique foundation to half a pump of the HD Skin, and again this is just to kind of deepen the shade. And I'm using a beauty blender to bounce that over the skin. Don't forget to also take it over your ears and anywhere else that's on show that doesn't match your body. I'm then using a small brush just to work that in around the pores. And then as you can see, the skin is a lot closer to my body. It's definitely harder to match your face to your body if you have a natural tan, because you have a lot of redness with the tan. But once we've finished with the rest of the makeup, it will all come together nicely. For concealer, I'm using the Clinique Even Better Concealer. As you can see, I've decanted out what I needed onto my clean palette, and I'm using my fingers to apply it, and I'll use my sponge to bounce that in. I'm taking that underneath the eyes and in all the areas that needs a little bit more coverage, especially as I'm having the same symptoms as a cold, so around my nose and anywhere around that area tends to get quite red. I love this concealer because it is so much like skin. It gives you coverage, but it's not heavy and it doesn't look cakey. I decided that I wanted a little bit more coverage just in this area, and the great thing about this concealer is it is really forgiving, so if you do need to layer it, it won't look heavy and it doesn't look cakey. I also love that on Clinique's website they often have a sale on, or if you shop on Look Fantastic you can usually get it at a better price, so I usually shop for Clinique when there's an offer. Now we've got foundation and concealer on, we want to add some dimension. The concealer adds a subtle highlight to the face, so it gives a bit of shape, but we also want to add some contour, and the one I'm taking is a cream based contour by Faux. This is her contour stick in the shade Cool. Again, using my spatula, I've decanted a small amount off of the top of that just for hygienic purposes. I've put that onto my palette, so I'm working from the palette itself. I'm stippling this on to the cheekbones so it gives a bronzy feel. It adds a little bit of a contour so it structures the face a little bit more. This is also going around the hairline, but it's also warming up the skin. Even though it's in the shade Cool, it's not too warm, but it is still a little bit bronzy. My choice is always to opt for a cream because it blends like a dream and it just works onto the skin so nice if you haven't set your foundation, and then you can set everything in place afterwards. So using the opposite end of my brush, I'm taking a small amount of that down my nose, not necessarily to reshape my nose, but also to bring a little bit of warmth so the nose doesn't look flat in comparison to the rest of the face. Then I'm taking the Laura Mercier translucent powder and I'm decanting some of that onto my clean palette, dipping my sponge into it, and then I'm going to take the IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better setting spray and I'm going to spritz that over the top of the powder and then press that onto the skin. If you've never applied powder this way, you need to give it a try. You only need a very light mist of the setting spray, but it just enables you to set the skin without that cakey, powdery finish. You can see how it's mattifying the skin as I'm pressing it on, even though the sponge is damp. It's really bizarre, but it works so well. It just doesn't leave any of that powdery residue. Before we bronze, I'm going to do my eyebrows. The tutorial for this method is on screen for you now. Next, I'm going back in with the bareMinerals Faux Tan Endless Summer Bronzer on a brush, and I'm applying this directly into the socket line of the eye. The actual eye makeup itself is uber simple. This is the only blending you'll need to do, so just work this in until you can just about see it on the skin. As you can see, I'm sanitizing as I go. Next up, I'm taking this Diego Della Palma Sparkling Cream eyeshadow. This is a beautiful golden shade, and if you want to be able to wear a shimmer without it falling down, then cream is the way to go. These are similar to the Tom Ford ones. You'll see when I swipe it on, it's ultra pigmented. It's so beautiful. It has the most incredible gleam. I actually do some footage slightly away from the camera, out of focus, so you can actually see how it sparkles. It's so beautiful. And because it's so opaque, there's no need to apply a eyeshadow underneath or to use this as a topper. You can use it as a topper, but it is beautiful on its own. To darken the lash line, I'm using the Wet n Wild Mega Liner in dark brown. I've decanted a small amount of that onto my palette and I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills pointed brush to softly run that close to the root of the eyelashes. We don't want this to be like a harsh line, we want it to be very, very soft. You can of course use a pencil, but I do find that pencils can move, and if you've got slightly hooded eyes, it can print up. So using something that's going to stay in place all day is better. Lots of you have asked me about these little eyelash curlers. I'm going to link them in the description bar for you. I got them from the Guru Makeup Emporium, and these are great, especially if you have very straight eyelashes and you've got slightly smaller eyes. And then for mascara, this is a great one to have in your kit. For hygienic purposes, I always use metal tooth-combed mascara wands when I'm working on other people, but as I do have COVID, I don't want to get any bacteria in my mascara. I mean, it may not even work like that, but who knows? It's not worth risking it on an expensive mascara. This one is from Tweezerman. They sent it to me recently and I love it because it folds up. A lot of the other ones I have do not fold, and if they catch your finger, they can sometimes really hurt you. So this one is great. Next, I'm applying some of the Coffee Pencil by MAC, but you can also use Costa Riche, as I know coffee isn't available in the US, or as far as I'm aware it's not. The placement for this is on the outer third of the waterline. Then you can give it a little sharpen and a little spritz with your sanitizer. Now I'm going in with a powder bronzer. This one is Laguna by NARS, but I also love Samoa, which is another shade they do, which is a little bit more of a red undertone. So if you do have a tan with a lot of redness underneath, then that is a good bronzer to add that redness back to your face. I'm using a big brush to buff this onto the areas that the sun would naturally hit. I find when you use a bigger brush, even though it's less precise, it looks more like you've genuinely caught the sun because it's a little bit more of a dusted appearance. I really like it. I'm going to stick with a cream blush. Yes, I've applied a powder bronzer, but you can still apply a cream blush over the top as long as you use a light hand and use a stipple motion. Again, I'm decanting a small amount of that onto my palette so I can use it from the palette as opposed to dipping in my brush straight into the pan and cross-contaminating. I'm stippling this onto the apples of the cheeks and pulling the colour backwards. If you are applying it to the apples of the cheeks, make sure you use a very light hand so you don't end up like Aunt Sally or a clown. Then use what's left on the bristles to apply that just over the top of the nose, a little bit on the chin and above the brows. It only has to be extremely subtle, it just pulls everything together. Then I'm going back to my NORVINA lip balm, decanting a small amount of that, and I'm going to mix that onto my palette, onto the blush, so it becomes more like a coloured balm, and then I'm going to apply this directly to my lips. As you know, I'm a huge fan of kind of like monochromatic cheeks and lips. I just feel like it really ties a look together if you match them. I decided I wanted a little bit more glam, this is a completely optional step. I'm taking half of the Lash Base FP04 lashes. I'm taking the outer half and popping that on the outer third of my eyelash line. So it's only a subtle addition to make it ever so slightly more glamorous, but for me it was just what I needed. So if you want to try these lashes, you can use my discount code. I'm going to zoom in and show you the eye makeup up close. It's so pretty, and as you can see, perfect for beginners, so simple to recreate. And if I just step back slightly, you'll be able to see that the eye makeup really does glow when it's out of focus. You can see that shimmer. So I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. I definitely don't look as if I'm suffering with COVID. Feeling good on the outside definitely lifted my spirits on the inside. I will list and link all the products I've used in the description bar. If you've got any comments or suggestions, leave them down in the comment section and I'll do my best to get back to you. Bye guys!